Sure.
We're going back to public comment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I usually try to speak from my heart. Some say I speak from my hip, and I wrote a few things down to try to keep this clear. In late fall of '93, early 1994, I went out and stood on a hill with Cliven, Bundy, and about 25 or 30 people. And he had a loudspeaker, and we stood out there and we said, or he said very clearly, "Come on, BLM." You know, called him out 20 years ago. And I stand with this man because I love him. I've known him a long time. Now, before the gather started, and for weeks I've been going out there being involved with all sides of this issue, from our federal delegation to local folks. And I want to make it very clearly that before they even started gathering, Cliven called me and said, "Hey, they've started blocking off areas. I want to make sure my cows are getting water." I went to the BLM to make sure that they knew where the pond was 4 miles away because the cows could no longer come to the river. Every day, I had been working in ways to keep as peaceful and resolved as possible this entire situation. Having gone to that incident compound and seeing hundreds of rangers heavily armed, and to see the vast amount of public land that was locked up, I complained. And I also got calls from constituents from Wappa Valley and Bunkerville complaining. Went to the BLM, they opened the roads and trails to the Logandale trails, up the Narrows to the Jensens, allowed a contractor to continue going over the lower basin into the gravel pit by the Virgin River to continue to bring materials to Las Vegas for the highways and roads that we're building here. When Davy Bundy was arrested Sunday evening, I had conversations with a couple law enforcement agencies over the issue. And I was at the federal courthouse Monday morning here in Las Vegas to defend Davy Bundy. I got back to my office and I received a phone call from a fellow that I wish was here because I'd like to meet him. I don't know if I like him, but I'd certainly like to meet him. I certainly would. And I got a phone call from somebody, a Clark County staff member also heard that phone call and knows what I said. And I certainly did not say the things that were sent out to the media on Facebook and other places. Certainly did not say them the way that they were interpreted and or restated, rewritten, or what have you. So I want to make that clear. But I also want to make clear that this whole thing is not about cows. It's about people's first rights, free speech, and peaceful assembly. And I have supported that in addressing to the federal government on the little half-acre fenced-out area. They said that's where you go talk. That was insulting to anyone. It's ironic that I've been out there with Bob Abbey in 2010 discussing this issue in these areas. I've been out there many times with Cliven Bundy. I bought cattle from him for the rodeo teams and practice with. We've gathered bulls and brought them into town for kids to practice on to learn to ride bulls. Mr. Bundy has been an asset, or the Bundy family has been an asset out there for many years, and their family has in other ranches. But there's a big difference here, and I think I've stated that, and I will again if possible in a moment. But when this fellow called me he claimed to be from Paiute County. As soon as I got off the phone with him, I called the sheriff, and I called the chief of police from Mesquite to warn him of what he said to me. I don't need, and I don't want, and I don't think anyone wants, and especially the family members of Wappa Valley and Bunkerville who live in that area have expressed to me their concerns over people coming into that area heavily armed to escalate a conflict. That's been my whole purpose, is to not have that escalated conflict. However, I got to tell you that the BLM overreached the enclosure area residents were outraged and scared because families go to Whitney Pockets and other areas. Tourists go up there four-wheel in that Goldbeat area, and it's public land. I'm sorry for the way that I've spoken about some folks. Let me make it clear. I have family in Utah, I have owned land in Utah, I've owned cattle in Utah. And I in no way ever insulted all you people from Utah or Utahans. I did not do that. I expressed that to a few folks that I know from country to country kind of way. I tell you, when the government closed down a few months ago, all their national parks and recreation areas, 2 ladies were cited walking in, trespassing into Red Rock. They were given some pretty heavy citations. There was a more serious incident just, a few weeks ago up there. Much more serious. You don't need that. There's a lot of disrespect for the federal government, but I want to read something here. Because I relied on this, regardless whether I've been a saint or a sinner or a heathen or anything else. It's something a lot of people believe in, and I wish more did. We believe in being subject to kings, presidents, rulers, and magistrates in obeying, honoring, and sustaining the law. And when the Bundys stopped paying the grazing fees 20 years ago, they started breaking the law. I have been out there, I've taken maps and staff to the BLM office and met with the Park Service and the BLM about 6 years ago, trying to reach a solution. I know fence contractors that work for the federal government in the western states, for about $150,000, the disputed Bunkerville allotment could have been fenced, and the cattle outside and trespassing the cattle inside. Because Cliven Bundy on his ranch, and I was standing out there with him on federal public land where his cattle were, to be more clear. And he said, Nevada law says fence them out, and Nevada's law is if you don't want somebody on your property, you fence them out. He stated that. Put up a fence. And I tried to present that, and the biggest rejection came from the National Park Service, not the BLM. So while I'm sorry that I've offended some people that I'm told were coming down here with loaded guns, or that I've offended folks that live in Utah, and I've talked to a lot of my friends up there and told them who I was addressing. My intention has always been for a peaceful conclusion to the activities and the incidents that went on last week and the last few days. There were people concerned at the Clark County Fair about their kids, their animals, their family and friends. Starting a war is not how you do that, and escalating a war is not how you do that. I believe in free speech because I've seen a lot of people call all of us traitors and tyrants to the sheriff for not being involved more than publicly or visibly. I can guarantee you the sheriff has been very involved this entire time. I've spoken with him many times. And I can assure you that the AG and the sheriff and myself and others here have stopped this from happening 2 years ago. And more court rulings, federal court rulings came down. And I've stated publicly and to several folks, change the law, don't break the law. That's what I've always wanted to say. But I got to tell you, and this had nothing to do with this thing, this I want to address to my colleagues. I've been in a downward spiral for a couple of years. I admit it. I've done some rude things and some not pleasant things. And I've had some, real friends come and talk to me. And through my, and a lot of it is, whether it's sarcasm or trying to turn pain into humor, or whatever stories, whatever you want to take it. I have not treated my colleagues the way that I should. That's right. So today, my apology is to you all. Free speech be damned. We're entitled to free speech, and I don't care what anybody says about me or anybody else. Knock your socks off. And I've been standing up for that the last 2 weeks out there. And I got to tell you, there were people scared to death when they saw not only the federal rangers heavily armed, but even equally scared when these militia folks started showing up. And that is not how you solve a problem. So yeah, I've been involved in a lot of hours, talking all sides, trying to keep the peace. Do I do it kind of in a rough way? You're damn right. And I know I always will. You know, I'd say something meant purely humor and insult somebody, and I don't mean it, but that's me. But I just want to tell you, I hope that I will improve how I address you all, and going forward. My apologies owed to you guys. And that's it, thanks.
Thank you, Commissioner.